You tweeted, "I've met and even negotiated with every Secretary of State since Schultz and every president since George H.W. Bush." But I want to ask you also about your recent meeting with Matt Duss, the foreign policy advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders. Can you talk about where you met and what you discussed?
Well, I did, yes, issue a statement. I've known Matt for some time, since he was head of the Foundation for Middle East Peace, and now he's the senior advisor to Bernie Sanders on international affairs. He's a very knowledgeable person. He's somebody who does his homework, in the sense that he studies the issues, he meets the people, and he's a very thoughtful person, well-read. Which is a rarity these days. You need people who have knowledge, who do not, sort of move on the basis of ignorance. And we talked about, of course, Bernie Sanders. We were saying how ironic it was that Palestinians were pushing for a Jewish president for the U.S. when the Israelis were pushing for an extreme evangelical president for the U.S. Anyway, we feel that the position of Bernie Sanders, among others, we're not singling him out as being the one person. There's a whole spectrum now, fortunately, in Congress and in the Senate and the House, people who have the courage to speak out, people who have the courage to call the occupation by its name, and who have the foresight to try to address the real issues and to see how to end the occupation, how to bring justice to the Palestinian people, how to make this narrative acceptable instead of people trying to silence and distort the Palestinian narrative and voice. And fortunately now, within American public opinion and universities, among groups, minorities, women's groups and so on, we see an emerging sense of liberation, of the ability to speak out, to address justice for the Palestinians without being labeled anti-Semitic and without, having the law distorted, like, BDS and so on, to criminalize anybody who tries to work in ways that are consistent with his or her conscience in defending Palestinian rights and seeking a just peace in the region. So among them, there's Bernie Sanders, and we have listened carefully, and we see a progression in terms of his position. I've met other candidates as well who came to Palestine. I met Matt. We had a good meeting at my office at the PLO headquarters, and we sent messages to Bernie Sanders, as well as we send messages directly also to others, because we believe we can have a real engagement, a genuine, candid contact and discussion and conversation on the issues, because the strident language of hate and distortion and so on is really counterproductive and dangerous to both sides. And that's why I think the more conversations we have, the more discussion, the more candid talks that we have, the more we clarify the issues, the better would be and the more informed would be decision-making in the U.S.